Welcome everybody and welcome everybody to my channel. My name is Rainer and this is Rainier Books. Today another single review, and let me start this video by singing some verses. You know that I love to sing. I am on a lonely road and I am traveling, looking for something. What can it be? I hate you some, I hate you some, I love you some. Yeah. Who's that? That's, of course, the older people among you probably know. This is Joni Mitchell from her amazing album Blue from 1971, 54-year-old album. And I read this book. I saw it last year in Portland, Oregon when I was there. I think it came out in the summer of 2024. This is a book called Traveling, from that song that I just sang in a beautiful way. And the book is called Traveling on the Path of Joni Mitchell by N. Powers. And Powers is an extremely knowledgeable music journalist. It says here on the envelope of the book, she has been a music critic for more than 30 years, working for National Public Radio, NPR, the Los Angeles Times, the New York Times, and other publications. So she's really someone who knows so much about music, so many names, so many albums, everything that's mentioned in this book here. And she is taking on Joni Mitchell, who was born in 1943 in, I think, close to Saskatoon in Canada. That's actually where she grew up, as Roberta Joan Anderson. But she would be known to the world and with a great legacy to generations of fans, but also to generations of musicians, of songwriters, as Joni Mitchell, because that is the name of her first husband, whom she married in the 1960s. She got divorced from him in the 1960s, but she kept the last name Mitchell, and the first name, Roberta Joan, became Joni to the world. This is a very personal book. A lot of people on Goodreads, where I read some reviews after I finished the book, I always read reviews after I finish books, so I wondered what other readers would say about this book, and some of them have said that they were sort of disturbed that N. Powers is part of the book herself, in a way, because we get to know a couple of things, a lot of things actually, about her family, about her relationship to movies, about her relationship to men as well. Powers is following on the path of Joni Mitchell is a very nice description. The second title of the book is a very nice description because she's on the path of Joni Mitchell. She never really met her. She's following her in time and also today. She has not made an interview with Joni Mitchell for this book. She also has not tried to make an interview with Joni Mitchell for this book. She has met the artist once. That comes pretty late in that book at a festival, but she's pretty sure that Mitchell didn't see her, that she saw Mitchell because Mitchell was on stage as usual, but she was somebody who wrote about that event. So why didn't she do that? I think her respect was enormous, but also she wanted to get closer to Mitchell by talking to a lot of people, by doing research and talking to a lot of people that have been with Joni Mitchell, that have been affected by Joni Mitchell's work. So this is a book where she has interviewed dozens of people over years. I think the whole work for this book, Traveling, was like 10 years or something. And it started out before Joni Mitchell got her horrible brain aneurysm in the 2015 or 2016 that almost killed her. She was paralyzed. She couldn't speak for a long time. She was in rehab, but then she recovered. Took a lot of years to recover, and as you might know if you are a fan, she had a sensational appearance at the Newport Folk Festival in Rhode Island, I think, in 2022, where she was sitting on her beautiful chair that she has at home. It's called the Throne. She was sitting there, and generations really of other artists. The first of all, Brandi Carlile, who has done a lot for Joni Mitchell, who has also recreated her album Blue, performed live at Carnegie Hall in New York City. These artists are around her and she's singing some of her songs. Incredibly, almost like a rebirth of this artist years after she was really, really, really sick. So this starts, of course, at the beginning of the life of Joni Mitchell. The first chapter is called Childish Things. And there I learned also some things that I knew that Mitchell and the great other Canadian songwriter Neil Young and her contemporary are friends. Here I learned that this friendship has started in the 1960s, and that actually Neil Young wrote this very famous song, which you probably know, Born to Live on Sugar Mountain. You can't be 20 on Sugar Mountain. Yeah, you can't be 20 on Sugar Mountain, where Young in the 60s sort of was, sad that he already was 20, 21, 22 years old when he wrote that song, and that he wasn't a child, that he wasn't a kid anymore. And Mitchell answered to that song, and I didn't know that this was an answer. Mitchell wrote a song with which she answered to Sugar Mountain. And that's also a very nice thing to learn, that actually songwriters like Young and Mitchell, two icons of pop music really, that they sort of talked with each other not only verbally but also in writing a song as an answer to another song. And Joni Mitchell wrote The Circle Game as the answer to Sugar Mountain. And I learned a lot about Laurel Canyon. Laurel Canyon is outside Los Angeles, California, I think, is a canyon with a lot of houses. And in the 1960s, Laurel Canyon was so famous, in the early 70s as well, for all the musicians who were living there. Linda Ronstadt lived there. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young were living there. Joni lived there. Jackson Browne, many other people who are very important for this decade in music. And they lived in Laurel Canyon. They spent evenings together. They were cooking together. They were making music together in all kinds of combinations. She always attracted others, not only by her appearance as this beautiful blonde young woman that she was, but also by her ability to write songs. People like Graham Nash, who had a relationship with Mitchell, people like David Crosby, both from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, who also had a relationship with Mitchell. Both of them say that, Joni was the kind of person who would write so many songs, and you would just think, oh my God, she is so incredibly talented. I can't do this like she can. And Powers is describing that very closely because she talked to so many people who tell her the stories, things, what happened, when, and also she is delivering a playlist, folks, that I can tell you, a playlist that is just amazing. I didn't start from the beginning, but once I was inside the book, 120 pages maybe, and I was adding songs to a Spotify playlist that I curated, that I made, and I will put a link to my Spotify playlist, which I called Traveling on the Path of Joni Mitchell, down below. It's not complete, but you will find 70, 80 songs, many by Mitchell, but many also by contemporaries of hers, or by songwriters who are influenced by her. Powers writes here in the book. Those hewing most closely to her example included Tori Amos, Natalie Merchant, and Alanis Morissette, all of whom openly professed their debt to her. The 1990s also marked the moment when Mitchell's influence surfaced on R&B, via another young woman rethinking her own musical parentage, Janet Jackson. Jackson's Got Till It's Gone, featuring avid Mitchell fan Q-Tip of the rap group A Tribe Called Quest, interpolated the chorus of Big Yellow Taxi and became one of Jackson's biggest hits. Powers also discusses Mitchell's later period of the 1970s. An album that I absolutely love is Hey Gira from 1976, where she has more jazz influences, where she experiments a lot with jazz fusion, was the key word of the time, where she has experienced with and also made music and live concerts with tremendous musicians like the guitar player Pat Metheny and the bass player Jaco Pastorius, who was at his time being regarded as the best bass player in the world. She has also paved the way, you say, for many, many women to come in the industry, in the music industry, and that's also something that Powers takes up, and that's my last remark about the book. This book is about a fascinating person of musical history, Joni Mitchell, traveling on the path of Joni Mitchell. If you like the music of her, you will love this book probably. And I think I also like the book. I also like the fact that Powers is part of the book. That is how journalism also has developed in recent years. In the last 15 years, I would say that very often journalists and reporters become a part of the story. And sometimes, like in Powers' case, it's also interesting that she reflects about herself and her sort of relation to the work and how that changes throughout the process of doing so much research and knowing almost everything about the artist. So I like the book, and I hope that you do too. And I'll see you very soon in another video on this beautiful and amazing channel. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.